GM is bracing for a major financial hit after another big recall. The carmaker's new CEO admits something went very wrong with the company's safety efforts.
General Motors has just committed nearly $900 million to fix a widespread problem tied to its V8 engines. This isn't a small, isolated issue. It affects some of the company's most popular trucks and SUVs, and it has left many owners frustrated. Today, we'll break down exactly what went wrong, which engines are affected, how GM is handling the situation, and what this means for customers moving forward. At the center of this story is GM's family of small-block V8 engines, particularly the 6.2-liter variant found in models like the Chevrolet Silverado, GMC Sierra, Cadillac Escalade, and Chevrolet Tahoe. These engines are known for their performance and towing ability, but a critical problem surfaced in recent years. Improper machining during manufacturing led to issues with the engine's main bearings. When these bearings don't meet precise tolerances, it can cause abnormal wear, oil pressure problems, and, in severe cases, total engine failure. This is not a minor repair. The engines in question represent GM's flagship technology. The 6.2-liter V8, with its combination of power, efficiency features like cylinder deactivation, and widespread use across high-volume models, makes this recall especially significant. GM recently disclosed that it set aside $888 million to address the costs associated with these V8 engine problems. This amount covers inspection, repairs, and in some cases, complete engine replacements. By allocating this much money, GM is acknowledging both the scale of the problem and the importance of reassuring customers who rely on these vehicles. The figure also shows just how expensive modern recalls can be. With today's engines using advanced machining, tighter tolerances, and complex systems like active fuel management, even small production errors can turn into massive financial liabilities. The repair process begins at GM dealerships. Technicians are instructed to perform an oil filter inspection as the first step. This simple but effective check looks for signs of metallic debris, which can indicate bearing wear. If debris is present, it often means the engine has sustained internal damage that cannot be reliably repaired with minor fixes. If contamination is found, GM authorizes a full engine replacement. This ensures that owners aren't left with an engine that may fail prematurely down the road. On the other hand, if no debris is detected, technicians proceed with an oil change and software update to monitor ongoing performance. Dealerships also rely on detailed service bulletins and VIN tracking systems to know exactly which vehicles are affected. GM's internal guidance helps ensure consistency across thousands of dealerships. The company is also gathering data from these inspections to refine its repair process and prevent future issues. At the root of this recall is a machining defect during engine production. To understand what went wrong, it helps to look closely at how modern V8 engines are built. Inside every engine are main bearings. These components sit between the crankshaft and the engine block, and their job is to allow the crankshaft to rotate smoothly at thousands of revolutions per minute. Because they endure constant load and friction, the tolerances on these bearings must be incredibly precise. We're talking about measurements down to the thousandth of an inch. The thickness of a human hair is far larger than the margin of error allowed here. If machining equipment is even slightly misaligned, or if the surface finish of the bearing seats is inconsistent, oil flow can be disrupted. Bearings rely on a thin film of oil to prevent metal-to-metal contact. When that film is interrupted, friction increases dramatically, which accelerates wear. Over time, this can lead to oil pressure loss, knocking noises, or in severe cases, complete seizure of the engine. In this case, GM determined that certain engines left the factory with bearing surfaces that did not meet exact specifications. It wasn't a matter of design. The engines were engineered correctly on paper. Instead, the issue came from execution, a production process that allowed some out-of-tolerance parts to slip through. The scale of GM's V8 production makes this more impactful. The company builds hundreds of thousands of these engines each year. Even if a small fraction are affected, that translates into thousands of vehicles on the road with potential defects. When those vehicles are concentrated in high-volume models like the Silverado, Sierra, and Escalade, the issue becomes impossible to ignore. This highlights the challenge of modern automotive manufacturing. Engines today are far more complex than those of previous decades. They integrate advanced features like active fuel administration, direct injection, and variable valve timing. Each of these systems requires even tighter machining and assembly standards. The smallest variation can ripple outward, creating problems that only emerge once vehicles are in the hands of customers. So, while this recall isn't about a flawed design, it does show how crucial quality control is at the manufacturing level. GM has acknowledged that improvements are needed in its machining processes and inspection checkpoints to prevent similar problems in the future. This isn't the first time GM has faced reliability concerns with its V8 lineup. For example, the 5.3-liter V8s with active fuel management from the mid-2000s developed reputations for high oil consumption. Owners frequently reported that engines would burn oil faster than expected, sometimes leading to low oil conditions and long-term wear. There were also cases of lifter failures in both 5.3 and 6.2-liter engines in the past decade. These issues often stemmed from the complexity of cylinder deactivation technology. While innovative, AFM introduced new mechanical stress points that didn't always hold up over time. By comparison, the current bearing issue represents a different kind of challenge. It's not about a flawed design concept, but about precision in the manufacturing process. Still, when viewed together, these events highlight how GM's push for efficiency and performance has sometimes created reliability risks. For owners, the recall process can be disruptive. Having a vehicle sidelined for a complete engine replacement can take weeks, especially if parts are backordered. GM is working with suppliers to ensure enough replacement engines are available, but the scale of the recall makes scheduling a challenge. Dealerships are authorized to provide loaner vehicles in some cases, but not all customers receive them. For people who rely on their trucks for work, this downtime is a serious inconvenience. GM's goal is to minimize disruption, but the reality is that logistics play a big role in how quickly repairs get done. It's also worth noting that replacement engines come with warranties, giving owners some reassurance. GM has emphasized that once repaired, vehicles should perform just as well as intended from the factory. Looking forward, GM is using this costly lesson to reinforce its manufacturing quality checks. Investments in machining equipment, supplier oversight, and quality assurance are already underway. GM has also said that its next-generation V8 engines will benefit from stricter controls to prevent similar issues. This $888 million expense, while significant, is being framed as part of GM's broader strategy to maintain trust in its vehicles at a time when the company is also transitioning heavily into electric vehicles. Maintaining confidence in its internal combustion engines, especially for loyal truck and SUV customers, remains critical. GM's V8 engine recall is more than just a headline. It's a reminder of how precise modern engine manufacturing must be and how even small errors can lead to huge costs. For owners, it's a frustrating but necessary process to ensure long-term reliability. For GM, it's a test of how well they can balance customer trust with the realities of large-scale manufacturing. What do you think? Have you owned a GM V8 from multiple generations, and how do they compare in reliability? Share your experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear how this story connects with your own time behind the wheel.